Ave Legion and welcome to my channel. My name is Ludi and this is my Bavaria guide for the 1.30 Emperor update and DLC. At the very start of the game, Bavaria has been fragmented in between various smaller nations, and the three most likely candidates for reforming Bavaria are Munich, Landshut, and Ingolstadt. In this video, we will be going over the Bavarian ideas as well as the Bavarian mission tree, after which we will be discussing what is the best tactic towards forming Bavaria as soon as possible and what are your options after you formed Bavaria. All of the Bavarian miners actually start off with the same Bavarian ideas, which include cavalry combat ability plus 10%, chance of a new heir plus 50, and once you fill in all the ideas, development costs minus 10%. Then when we head on over to the first idea, we have yearly legitimacy plus 1, production efficiency plus 10, yearly prestige plus 1, yearly papal influence and missionary strength versus heretics plus 3%, national tax modifier plus 10, discipline plus 5, and yearly army tradition plus 0.5. The ideas are of course not amazing, but they're also not very bad, so if you want to go for an economical based game, then these ideas are really good for you. And the plus 5 discipline also helps with the military. Heading on over to the mission tree, this is literally identical for all three of the nations, as well as the same for the Bavarian nation after you formed it. After forming Bavaria and having 100% force limit, you get a permanent claim on Oberpfalz, Salzburg, and Regensburg, as well as prestige from land battles and co-creation cost minus 15%. Later on in the game, once you've actually developed München to 25 development and you have 5 buildings there, you're going to get a level 1 center of trade, which is actually pretty good since that's going to boost your trade income considerably, and you can also upgrade it to level 2 and 3 in the future. Having good relations with the Pope as well as having an active cardinal and papal influence at 100 gives you the religious piety for 20 years, which is pretty good if you want to convert things. But I would actually suggest keeping this for whenever the Protestant Reformation starts appearing. After you get your claims on Regensburg and Oberpfalz, or any of the 3 new claims that you get, you can enact the Expand Bavaria mission, which is going to give you a restoration of union on the Palatinate and permanent claims on all of the Franconian regions. You can follow that up with the conquest of Franconia, that's going to lead you to the conquest of Swabia, and eventually the sway of Köln, and unite the Wittelsbach, which is related to the conquest of the Palatinate. If you're brave enough, you can even claim Tyrol and eventually have a union with Austria, which is going to give you the emperorship. One of the most interesting missions in the mission tree is actually the Boricht als Lichtkultur, and I know I butchered that, in which if you have 500 development and own some particular provinces highlighted on the map right now, you can get a Bavarian cultural dominance modifier, which lasts until the very end of the game, that gives you yearly prestige and diplomatic reputation plus 1. Another really great modifier that you can get until the end of the game is Establish Oktoberfest, which is going to give you local development cost minus 10%, local production efficiency plus 20%, and yearly prestige plus 0.5, as well as 50 prosperity progress in the state of Upper Bavaria. So now that we've talked about the ideas and the missions, let's talk about the starting situation of the Bavarian minor nations. You can choose to start off as either Landshut, Ingolstadt, or München. Regardless of whichever you start, you have pros and cons for all 3 of them. Landshut has the best leader at the start of the game, with Ingolstadt having the second best and München having the worst one, together with their heir, which is a 101 Johann von Damasstein. That being said, I do suggest starting off as München because you do have the vassal of Passau, which gives you another 3,000 starting units at the very beginning, as well as increase your land force limit, so you can actually have 10,000 units at the very start, not including your vassal's troops. It is very important that you try and get an alliance with Austria at the very start, so that you don't have to get into any troubles with the emperor later down the way. If it's not possible, nothing to fear, you can still manage without them. One nation I do really recommend getting alliance with, and one nation that always is available for becoming your ally, is Württemberg. This is simply because you can promise land to them from Ingolstadt and never deliver, but even so, they will use their 5,000 troops to help you out against Ingolstadt, so you could focus on preserving your manpower against the Landshutians. Another really good tactic early on is to get allies in the HRE electors, so that for the future you can lay the grounds for becoming the next Eu4 Emperor once you become Bavaria. If you decided to go with Munich, I really recommend disinheriting Johann from the very start and then waiting to get another heir. But before we wait to get another heir, we need to fix our prestige, so we go to the burghers and we give them the patronage of the arts, which is going to give us 25 prestige. So our prestige hit is not going to be so bad. Since we're looking at the estates, let's also talk about the other estates we should be giving. I would recommend taking the lands at the very start before you even on pause and getting the diet. After that, you should give increased levies to the nobility, since the nobility control 37% of your lands, and that means that you're going to have a huge increase in your available manpower and maximum manpower. Another really good privilege to give is the aristocratic counselors, which makes your military advisors much cheaper, and also the supremacy over the crown. You should also give monopolies on whatever goods you can actually give monopolies on at the very start for the extra cash boost and the mercantilism. I would also recommend getting a military advisor, which is going to be considerably cheaper if you get the right privilege that I just mentioned. Don't forget to also focus on military tech so that you can actually rush your military tech 4. A few months after the game starts, you're going to get the Bavarian succession event, which gives you a restoration of Union Casus Belli on both of the other Bavarian minors. Take it, of course, and take note that after you've captured the other two nations, you don't need to integrate them to form the Bavarian nation, as the requirements for forming Bavaria are basically just to have them as either vassal in a PU or owning directly. As soon as you get the CBs, I recommend attacking the weakest of the two nations first. In my situation here, that was Ingolstadt, and colon the Württemberg ally, which will join as long as you promise them some lands. In most of my runs, this has happened quite often where Memmingen actually allied Ingolstadt, and the best tactic to deal with them right now is quite simply to just give Memmingen to Würzburg, since Memmingen is a free city and otherwise it would be impossible for you to take it since Austria would join in against you. This is a loophole, and later on you can just attack Württemberg and take Memmingen and whatever other provinces they have after you form Bavaria. Now that we've basically finished off Ingolstadt, let's attack Landshut as well and take over the secondary Bavarian minor. It only costs about 6 to 7 aggressive expansion to enforce your PU over each of the Bavarian minors, so altogether you're probably going to have around 12 to 13 aggressive expansion with the nations around you after you get both PUs. Now, both of them are going to be very disloyal, but nothing to fear. We can just hit the magical form Bavaria state button, and then afterwards we don't need to stress about anything else since we have the Bavarian nation. There you go, 1447, and we have formed Bavaria. This also means that you can click the United and Strong Bavaria mission, which is going to give you the claims on the other provinces around you belonging to the Palatinate, Regensburg, and Augsburg. You will have to change your rivals, of course, since you've basically eaten up both of your previous rivals, and I do suggest putting the Palatinate as one of the rivals, as well as either Württemberg or Regensburg, depending on whichever you could actually easily take care of. You also get a claim on Salzburg, and I would actually make that my next target in order to fill up the East Bavaria state with provinces that belong to you. After forming Bavaria, in about 1454, you should start integrating your Passau vassal, and before that you can also start eating up nations around you that you get a claim on from your mission tree, such as Salzburg as well as Augsburg, the nation of the Palatinate, but this might be a bit tricky since they usually ally Austria, and Regensburg, but you would have to do it as a co-belligerent. So if they ally, for example, Würzburg, which is in my situation, get a claim on Würzburg, attack them, and colon Regensburg, since if you attack Regensburg directly, they are a free city and Austria is going to defend them. I hope you guys enjoyed this opening moves guide for Bavaria, and if it did, then leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this in the future, and I will be seeing you in the next one.